Welcome to the Business Awareness Hour with Norman, the Awareness Guy. Now, let's start the show.
And good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Business Awareness Hour. For those of you who don't know or haven't tuned in before, I am the Awareness Guy. My name is Norman, and we're going to make our guest very aware of everyone that's out there, and vice versa. My co-host tonight, Linda Grace Farley from Cycles of Life Management Services.
Hello,
Linda's with me every Wednesday evening. And if you like Linda and you think she's doing a good job, write into us and give us a little shout out. I think Linda would be happy to hear. Linda, tell everybody what it is that you do. What do you do?
Cycles of Life Management Services helps people to realize their true potential from a body, mind, and spirit perspective. And one of the products I promote is, and I'm very passionate about, is the Beamer. And I'm hoping that people out in our audience land would be aware of that. It is an FDA Class 2 cleared medical device that helps to improve blood flow and give more energy, helps the cells to detox. It's a fabulous machine that, or I should say technology. So, and I'm very proud of the fact that I'm involved with that. I like the quality of it. I like the development that was put into that. It's quality through and through. So, yeah, that's what I do. I mean, it's been interesting, Norm. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to see an individual who went on. I was at an event, and this individual went on the Beamer and was nervous, and I actually saw the whole transformation. Within 3 minutes, he just melted. He actually fell asleep. So that kind of like revalued or validates my commitment to spreading the love, so to speak, or the education on the properties that the benefits, I should say, of Beamer.
Right,
so aren't you glad you asked?
Hey, by the way, just for the heck of it, how do people get in touch with you if they want to find out more about the Beamer?
Well, my website is cyclesoflife.beamergroup.com. And if they want, they can give me a call at 845-238-0637.
Now, Beamer is Beemer or Beemer?
It is BEMER, and what it is bioelectromagnetic energy regulation. It's an acronym.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah.
Now it's going to be easy for us to introduce our guest for tonight. Let's bring him up, Dylan. All right, this is everybody. This is Rob Ratliff, and he's has a company by the name of Marketing AI LLC, and he's from this big, tremendous town called Logan, Utah.
Yes.
What the heck is the Logan, Utah?
It is a university town, Utah State University up here. So the Aggies, yeah. There's probably about 60,000 in town, 140,000. I just recently found out 5 minutes ago in the Cache Valley area. So it's not huge, but it's home.
How long have you lived there?
I've lived here for quite a while. This last time I've lived here for about 14 years. I moved back in 2010, but I actually I'm sure we'll cover this more, but moved back here after being away for a few years. But I originally was here back in 1991. Got married, and things happened, and I ended up kind of traveling all over the country, and then just moved back in 2010.
Very good. So were you born there, Rob?
I was actually, I was like sis. I was made in Texas.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in Austin, Texas, and back then that was another little, just small college town. Grew up in the Brackenridge apartments, till I was like 3 or 4 years old. I remember the playground there. I remember asking my mom if I could cross the street by myself without holding her hand, when I was 4. That was a big step.
Yeah, that was cool. That was grown up. You were an adult.
Oh yeah,
Now, the name of your company, I think is a super name, and you got there before somebody else got there.
hmm
Do you, first of all, Marketing AI LLC, do you have anything to do with the AI world? Because you've had the business for a while.
I have, yeah. Actually, it's interesting. I started this company again, like I say, back in 2010. But I was talking to a friend of mine who I used to work with at another kind of agency, but it wasn't. It was just kind of a startup, and she wanted to start an ad agency or marketing agency called All Inclusive Marketing, meaning doing everything. So
Mhm.
web development and search engine optimization, social media ads, the works. And so I went and I bought the domain name Marketing AI, which stands for All Inclusive. And I thought that was better than all inclusive marketing, too long. Right?
Mhm.
So it was available. I took it, I bought it. Again, this was back in probably 2009, 2010.
Mhm.
And I just held on to it. And it really wasn't until the last 3 or 4 years that marketing AI became this really big uh, thing that everyone's talking about. So I have definitely felt kind of the moral responsibility because of the name to learn more about AI in marketing. And I've done a lot of research on different tools in AI. And of course, I love to dream about future things. And so I've thought about how AI is going to affect the future and how marketing is going to be affected by AI in the future. So I do use AI for quite a few things, which we can talk about as well.
Mhm.
And but most of what we're doing is more human based, helping customers to get the most traffic for their dollar spend.
So,
Okay.
Rob, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
There may be people in the audience that have no idea what AI is.
Mhm.
So, would you just elaborate a little bit for those individuals? What is AI?
Mhm. So AI, when we're talking about AI as far as artificial intelligence.
Okay.
A lot of the AIs that you're seeing now are based on what's called large language models, where it's predictively trying to look at, kind of the next phrase, and it's taking information from around the internet and it's laying it out in a way. So a lot of people may or may not have heard of a tool called ChatGPT,
Mhm.
which is Bing's co-pilot for their browser. It was originally, from what I understand, it's backed by Microsoft, and so at this point, it's more like a predictive algorithm helping to take information from around the web, just information. Imagine this computer that has access to everything ever written,
Mm.
everything that's online digitally, and we're talking everything from blog posts to the great works. I mean,
Oh, sure,
if
sure.
I go to ChatGPT and I said, I want you to create a blog post that talks about the effectiveness of search engine optimization in the voice of Mark Twain, it'll do it. And it'll write it out and it'll kind of be in the way that Mark Twain would talk or lay out his chapters. And
Mhm.
that's the kind of the predictive modeling, large language modeling. Now, we're still in the AI world looking into what they call general artificial intelligence. And that's more than just kind of predictive modeling and laying out, but doing things like coming up with, let's say, helping science out in a way where they can look at a certain disease and they can say, here's all of the data that we have on this disease, and here's all of the
Mhm.
information, here's all the tests we've run. Can you now come up with your own ideas? What is it that we've missed? What have we not tried? What is it that you could use to take us to the next level? And again, now this general AI going through and looking at all the information out there, all the case studies, all the results of the case studies, and now trying to take that and say, here's some things that you could do based on everything from chemistry to physiology and come up with a cure that maybe we didn't even think of. And I think that's kind of the hope that people have when it comes to the general AI, is that
Mhm.
we'll have that kind of capability down the road.
So I know that they have the scientific. I mean, processing time is like nothing now,
Right.
right? Rob, because back in the day it would take you. Now they are processing how many trillions of bits of information within a certain. Because I've seen those scientific computers. They're pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And you can change. You can ask for a book to be written, a short story book, 6.5 pages, no more than 30,000 words. Whatever, so you can get it, and then they'll kick it out. And you don't like something, they put it back. Not even 10 seconds later, maybe it's back out again. It's really crazy. I mean, my website, I just mentioned, Rob, to you about my website page. That was AI generated. I don't know how long it took to do. I don't know what the characteristics was that he asked AI chat to go and do to kick it. But I get rave reviews on this thing, and it's such a great tool.
Yeah. I recently talked to, I went to a conference and heard from, and I talked to him a little bit. One of the graphic designers for the Venetian Hotel in Las Vegas. And he is using AI to create even video and imagery in a way that reduces his time. He said he showed us one little clip of something that he just made using AI. It was diamonds kind of laid down on a table with the light going through the diamonds, and you could see how it's reflecting off the surfaces, and AI is able to predict where this light's going to go. And then he was able to take that and then use another little generative tool to kind of zoom out so that you could see like you're panning a camera across these diamonds. He said this would have taken us close to 100 hours to build this before the use of AI, but with AI, we were able to do this in about 20 minutes. And so
go ahead. Yeah, I'm sorry.
So what we're going to see here is just an explosion of not only more information, because rather than paying a copywriter to sit down and come up with an idea, research an idea, and type it out, you can use ChatGPT to type out articles and blog posts. And then of course you want to, make sure that the information is correct in there. But imagine being able to write 10 articles in the time it may take to write one article. So there's going to be just an explosion of information that people can now get out on their websites for search and optimization reason, for content, whatever it is. And not only that, but there are things now like children's books. You mentioned the background that you have there above your head that was generated by AI. I remember I was trying to get into kind of the children's book area on Amazon and Kindle publishing, write kids' books and things. And I remember reaching out to someone for them to help me create these images for my book. And, it was quite costly to get them to create a little picture for each page of my little kids' book. But now using the AI generative tools, DALL-E is one of them, Midjourney is one of them. There's, I'm trying to think of the other, they'll come to me, but we can create these images for these kids' books that look amazing. And people are using generative AI imagery to create images for book covers, coffee mugs, journal covers, mugs, that you can sell on your website. So this ability that we have now to just create more and more content, both narratively and imagery and pictures and video, is just going to help people get so much more information out there with the use of AI. So it's really fascinating. And
let me ask you a question then.
Yeah.
This is either going to help your business or it's going to hurt the business. If people can do it on their own, if they go to these courses. I have a friend of mine who's going to be opening up an AI teaching lab. And he doesn't know enough yet, but the AI is teaching him what he's going to wind up teaching somebody else. Is that going to help you? Are you going to have a teaching course or something?
Yeah, we could definitely create a teaching course. We have looked at some different courses and course material, but what it comes down to in marketing and my, with what we're doing now, I'm going to say at this point in time, my job is still pretty safe because you need to have some kind of human capacity to look at kind of the bigger, broader picture. The way AI is right now, especially with just ChatGPT and creating content, that kind of thing, it's I can tell AI to write a post, and then we can search and optimize that post and put it on someone's website. But the SEO part of that, you can have AI write that out and say, I need to write this out in a search engine optimized way. But there are still things that I find where I look at that and I go, oh, that could be written a little bit better, or I don't like the way that sounds. And not only that, but how does that fit into the big picture? Now, that being said, is it going to hurt, let's say, someone who's a book writer or someone who creates graphics for children's books, right? Like an illustrator.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's a little bit harder, right? Because now I can get an AI to create some pretty cool looking photos and things and imagery, and you can make them look very realistic or something that would look great in a children's book. So those kind of jobs are still not necessarily under fire, because if that illustrator learns how to use AI, then when they're contacted and someone says, hey, I need you to illustrate this kid's book, they could say, yeah, great, I'll have these edited and out to you in a few days, which before it could have taken a few weeks. But they could use AI to generate that information. So what I say is your job may not necessarily go to AI. You may not lose your job to AI, but you will most likely and most certainly lose your job to someone who understands how to use AI.
So you mentioned SEO. I'm thinking the O is optimization. What is
Yes.
SE?
Search engine.
Search engine. Okay.
Yep. So how do you write content that Google deems valuable enough to put on that first page?
Yeah. So this is, plagiarism comes to mind, because if all of this information is into these processing centers, all the mainframes and such, isn't there, will plagiarism go away because they're using, isn't it possible that they're using content from an artist, who wrote a book about? Yeah. Is it?
Yeah, that's what's interesting about this, is that the way the tools work, it will read information from other works, and then it will surmise its own material out of that and write it out. And that's the beauty of it. Now, I can take that information and I can put it in a plagiarism checker, and it will tell me if I've copied content from someone else. And if I have, then I can just rewrite that content in my own words. The other thing is you can take AI written material and you can put it into an AI checking tool, and it'll check to see if it's AI written. And most of the time when I take something from ChatGPT and I put it into this AI checking tool, it will in fact come back and say, this has been 100% written by AI. So what we do there is then we put it through another system that will take the ChatGPT written content and humanize it.
Wow.
Now you put it back into an AI detection tool and it says this was written by a human, even though it's all been done by AI.
Rob,
Wow.
what is your main business? What does AI LLC do? What I want to call you. I like you. You're a nice guy. I want to give you some business. What does the company do?
So what we'll do is we'll look at what you're doing marketing wise right now, and we'll try to find a way to improve on that. There are really only about 3 different keys when it comes to marketing online. And that is, 1, when people are searching for you, can they find you? So search engine optimization, writing content, those kinds of things are so important so that people can find you when they're searching for you. The next thing is, if they're not searching for you, how do they know about you or know what you do? So that's where ads on social media, for example, come into play. That's where YouTube videos, things that you're pushing out to people. So you have things that pull people in. That's what we call pull marketing. Then you have ads and content you're pushing out to people on, say, social media and YouTube, video, TikTok, those kinds of things. So we're looking at how can people find you if they're searching for you and optimizing that, and how can you get your material out in front of the right people so that if there's someone who would use your services is out there, you'll get your content in front of them and they will be more inclined to buy from you. And then, of course, the third thing is just the content creation. Someone's got to create the ads, someone's got to create the content, someone has to build the websites. And so those are kind of the three main things we do, is focus on building the content, helping you get optimized so people can find you when they're looking for you, and creating effective ads that can get in front of the right people at the right time and the right place who are looking for the products and services that you're offering, sometimes even if they don't know they need it at that moment. And those kinds of things you'll see where you're running through a TikTok ad and they show you this cool new vacuum or a mop or something like that. And you go, oh, that's really cool. I want to buy that. Now, you are not looking for a mop at that point or looking for a new vacuum, but they show this to you and you think, wow, I could really use that. You click a button and you go buy it. So that's kind of the push marketing side of things through video and TikTok. On the contrary, let's say I'm thinking, oh man, I need a new vacuum. Mine just broke. I type in vacuum cleaner. Is your store going to pop up? Is your vacuum going to pop up? How do we make that happen so you can sell that? So that's what we do, is just those three things: create the content, get your ads out in front of the right people, the right time, in the right place, and make sure that you're poised in a good position where people can find you when they're looking for you.
Do you sell packages? In other words, we're going to do, one from column A, two from column B type of thing. How do you structure your financial offerings?
So that's what I love about our company. When I've been in marketing for about 14 years now, just with my own company. And before that, I was in sales. I was traveling to the country. I was doing real estate training seminars and speaking in front of rooms.
You had a bicycle store too, didn't you? Have a bicycle store?
I did. Back in 1998. I believe it was 95 actually. So
was it motorized bicycles or regular pedaling bicycles?
These were regular pedaling bikes. Yeah. Regular pedal. And that kind of goes back a little bit deeper into my childhood, which maybe the second half here, I can go into kind of that story and how I got to where I am today. And it'll be super motivating for all the people who are watching this. But yeah, I did. I had a bike shop. My very first company was a cell phone rental business back when they were big bricks and they were $600 a month, Yeah. I could rent mine out, like, hey, rent my cell phone. And so people that couldn't afford a cell phone would just rent mine. And, that was kind of one of my first brainchild when it comes to.
What was that, America Online? Was that the name of the company?
No, America Online was a company that I worked for back in 98. I started working with America Online in 1998. And that was an internet service provider that also provided a lot of content. And so what that meant was, and that's kind of their key to what was their success at that time, was there were ways that you could connect to the internet by dialing in on a phone and dialing in on a modem, if you remember those days. And
a modem? What's a modem?
Modem? That's a modulator, demodulator. I'm surprised I remember that after all these years. But it would take those sounds that like a fax machine makes, that buzzing, humming, high-pitched stuff. And each one of those little squeals was little ones and zeros coming through the line. And so it would take that information and demodulate that into actual code so that it would bring up a website, for example. And that's how it would send information. So the thing that was great about America Online was they had phone numbers all over the country that people could sign into. And they were one of the first ones that had, if you join our platform, it's $20 a month. But now it doesn't matter where you are in the country. You can dial in and have this service provider for, it was about $20 a month and connect from anywhere. But they also put more content out there. So they really had keywords and searches and message boards, and you could put out keyword coupons, for example, and it would spit out, here's all the coupons for the local grocery store, and you could print those out. So by combining content and a way to connect to the internet, they really grew into this multi-billion dollar company. That was back in about 1998 to about 2003 or 4. I think I was there about 5 years, about 2003, 2004. And what happened was high speed started coming in, and cable connections and getting away from the modems. So they then decided, let's merge with Time Warner, who owned the cable networks and owned the way to connect through cable instead of like your modem at high speeds. And I think it was about that time everything fell apart, and I was considered, I think, one of the worst mergers in history, which meant my stock that I had been given in that company went down. I'd be a millionaire today if it had gone a little bit better.
But you know, Rob, you sound like you're a natural born entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Would that be a true statement?
Oh, absolutely.
So what was the
tiny
first
age.
business? What was the first business that, how old were you? And what was the first business that you actually did before your bike shop?
Well, I would say the first business that I did was mowing the lawn for my parents. And I did that from the time I was about 7 years old, 6, 7 years old. They wanted me to mow the lawn, and I did, but graciously, my parents value time, and they said, we'll pay you to mow the lawn. And I said, okay, great. And oh man, I had this big Honda. It was not light. I mean, this thing was a big motor. It was push only. My dad likes to buy stuff that lasts, and I'll tell you, this thing would survive a nuclear holocaust. It was the thing was made out of cast iron. That was what the skirt around the blade was made. None of this, stainless steel, aluminum stuff. This was and I had to put I had to put a lot of energy, but that thing would chew up lawn and pine cones, whatever's in the yard, like nothing. Because I was living in North Carolina at the time. And
So how much were they paying you?
I think they started me at, I think I was earning like $20 per mow or something like that.
That was great.
It was
Back
good
then,
money back then.
that
Holy
was good.
cow. Yeah. I did that. And, but like I say, after the break, we should probably go back in time even further and talk about just how this whole Rob Ratliff phenomenon happened.
We have so much stuff to talk to you about. You won't believe this, but in another minute, half the hour is already gone. Half the hour. Speaking of which, how can people get in touch with you? How do they reach you?
So you can email me, rob@marketingai.com. And my number also 435-881-9891. So again, it's rob@marketingai.com, 435-881-9891. And then, of course, my website, marketingai.com.
Great. Okay, we're not going to take the break yet because we got too much. The last time that we were on, which was a week or so ago, I skipped. Do you remember, Linda? We skipped the break.
We had to because there was so much information that our guest, and Rob, you're just like that. We don't want to interrupt the flow at all.
We're gonna skip our commercials. All right. Okay. We're not going to charge you anything extra for us skipping our commercials.
I appreciate that.
But we want you to kindle. Now let's go back. You wanted to go back. Let's go back in time.
Okay. I think this is important to discuss just because I want to inspire other entrepreneurs who are out there, no matter what age you are right now. My characteristics is always someone who's been very, very independent. In fact, when we were living in the Brackenridge Apartments back in Austin, Texas, my mom was sitting outside while I played on this playground. And of course, I was just playing and she was just kind of sitting there. And I think I was at that point, maybe 2 years old, very, very, very tiny. But I was just out there playing. And there was a student, because again, this was a kind of a college town, who was in child psychology, and that's what he was studying. And his job for this assignment was to watch a little kid playing and see how they interacted with their parents. And so I don't remember if it was a girl or a boy, but sat out there watching me, little Robbie, playing on the playground. And he walked up to my mother and they said, I've been watching your son play here for the last, 30 minutes to an hour because I'm supposed to be learning about, child and their, how they're connected to their mom at this age and, how they interact with their mom and stuff. But I've been watching for half an hour. He hasn't come and talked to you once. And he said, it's just the strangest thing I've ever seen. So I have this very independent streak where I'm me, I'm doing my own thing. This is what I love to do. And that really carried over into my childhood age and into the kind of my education of Rob Ratliff into my making. My mother and father both have their doctorate degrees in school. They I think his doctorate is in economics and accounting, auditing. My mother in secondary education had her doctorate degree that. So very educated people. And they wanted that for me, obviously. So my mother started teaching me how to read at a very small age too. So by the time I was in the third grade, I think it was on a 6th or 7th grade reading level,
Wow.
and I enjoyed reading, but they would give me just the stupidest books. And please, can you give me something that has some substance here? So this was, kind of me. Now, I also was bullied a lot as a kid. And I don't just mean like mentally, emotionally. I mean, pushed, shoved, hit, thrown into walls. I remember, I think I was in the 4th grade. Some guy came up, just one of my, mortal enemies, pushed me into a wall, and I hit my eye and just got this huge, huge black eye, like puffed up, And my parents said, like enough is enough, and they took me to go talk to a martial artist to start teaching me a little bit how to defend myself, right, kind of thing. So I started getting the martial arts a little bit and learning just how to punch, how to hit, that kind of stuff. This was not designed to get me to go back and retaliate and, take on these beasts that were hurting me. But in the end, let's fast forward a little bit to about the 9th grade, I believe it was. I was in a junior high school, and in this junior high school, I'm really thinking back here, right? I was in a junior high school, and this because I'd been bullied, I started to really develop this sense of who's good, who's bad,
Oh, yeah.
who's going to try to hurt me, who isn't. And I think there was a time when I was walking and some guy was going to stick out his foot to trip me, and I could just tell he was up to something, So I was watching for it, and he stuck out his foot, and I just walked right over it. And he just said, "How did you know I was going to do that?"
You should have stepped on it.
Right?
Wow.
I kicked it, whatever, right? So, but then I remember this one guy. I was carrying my books, and he just knocked these books out of my hand, and they went on the floor. And this was the Rob moment when I said, "I'm not taking this anymore." And I just picked him up and I just threw him across the hall. I think he went off the ground even across.
Wow.
hit the lockers on the other side. And he just said, "Whoa, you're way stronger than you look." And I said, "You bet I am." I don't know what I said. It was something like
Right.
But that was when I realized, I don't have to take this anymore. And what's interesting about this is this kid just kind of followed me around the rest of the year like a puppy. He wanted to be attached to Rob, right? Because I went from picked on to this kind of domination. What that did for me was that just opened up this whole concept of, wow, I don't have to be bullied. I can stand up for myself. Now, the reason I want to tell you that story is just my mom, years later, was talking about these kids and how I was bullied, and she just said, I hate those kids." And I said, "Why?" And she said, "Because what they did to you." And she said, "How did you get over it? How do you feel about those kids that did that?" And I said, "I love those kids." She said, "Why?" And I said, "Because they taught me that I don't have to be picked on. I don't have to be bullied, that I can set my own course, that I can be who I want to be, and they can't decide who I am." And so I took that time and that abuse, and I turned it into something that has motivated me and given me the strength to be an entrepreneur and take risks and have confidence that I probably wouldn't have had before. So if there are kids out there who are being bullied, just know you can stand up for yourself, and what you're going through right now is going to make you stronger in the end. So that's just, this is what's led to kind of the entrepreneurial Rob. About now in 9th grade, 10th grade, I realized how much I just hated school. I did not like the classrooms, the bells, how long it was taking to go through a particular book, for example, reading the chapters and answering the questions. So I decided that I was going to drop out, join the Air Force, and fly airplanes. So
Sounds like a good dream.
right? My dad was like, "That's great. Let's go to the Air Force recruiter and get you signed up." So went to the Air Force recruiter. He talked to me. He said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I want to drop out of high school and I want to fly airplanes." And he just laughed and he just said, "No, we're not going to put you in a multi-million-dollar jet if you can't even get through high school." So my dreams of being a Top Gun were dashed at that point. And this is even before Top Gun. So that's how old I am, right? But I then returned to, okay, what can we do? We found a program where I was able to take books home, read them, answer questions, go back, take a test. And when I finished that test, that would be my grade for that credit. So it'd be a B. If I got a B, A, I got an A. And they said I could do this as fast as I wanted to or as slow as I wanted to. Well, I wanted to do it quickly. And I said, I need to take 5 books home. They said, well, you can only take 2 at a time. So I took my book and I took these 2 books, took them home, finished them up in a couple of days, took them back and would get a couple more books. And I ended up at this time in my life, I was riding my bicycle to the school and back, which was, probably 6-7 miles away downhill and another 6 or 7 miles uphill to get back home because we lived kind of up in the benches of the mountains. So I got fit and I had this education, but I was able to get through school 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade in about 8 months. And
Wow.
I actually am working with some other people that I've met through a group called Achieve, which Lori Landon, right? This beautiful person, just amazing. And I know I don't know if I'm allowed to do plugs for other people right now, but she has an organization called Lori Landin Foundation, which is just amazing and immaculate what she's doing for children all over the world. But anyway, if you haven't seen that, you should check that out. She's just amazing. But through some people that she knows, I met Eric Goodman and Samuel Helms and some other people who are experts in education, and they're looking at how can AI affect education and how can we change it? Because going back to my story, I think children can learn so much faster than what school gives them credit for. And so there are some things there that I believe you're going to see changing in the future with AI and with the education system. So for me, what that meant was now I'm free. I'm basically done with school while my peers are in school. My dad at the time went to New Zealand for a business trip, and he loved New Zealand so much that he said, I want to take my family there. So at about 16-ish, I was able to move to New Zealand with my parents and my sister and my brother, where I had an apprenticeship working for Peter Godding, who was the mechanic for the New Zealand Olympic cycling team. So
Well, here comes those 6 miles back and forth up the hill.
right?
Right? Training
Yeah.
for.
So that was my first time working for an independently owned business like that, where I got a taste of, I want to start my own business. So
Yeah, for sure.
after New Zealand, after I was there for a couple of years, I ended up going to Australia on kind of a service mission there for a couple of years. And when I came back from Australia, I dated for a couple of years, found my wife, I bought a house, I fixed it up, did most of the work myself, the sheetrock, the electrical, the plumbing, you name it, did it all, sold it, doubled that money. And I took that money in 95 and I started my own bicycle shop in Tremont, Utah. And that's how we get to that bike shop in Tremont, Utah. And
But Rob, I'm listening to you, and in my profession, I would call you an old soul,
yeah,
right? Because I think at 2 years old, when that student from the college was coming to evaluate you, right?
Mhm.
Because you're supposed to be, you've always been independent.
yep,
And I think if you went the normal route of education, it would have stifled you.
hmm
You're so blessed to have 2 educators, for parents that
Yep.
gave you that opportunity.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
this
think you're going to be an inspiration to those that will listen to this broadcast.
hmm
Here's more.
Because,
Here's more.
oh,
He hasn't spoke about it yet, but I'm going to bring it up. He's
Yeah.
written. He's written a book.
Yeah.
no, a book
Yep.
too.
yep. I have a couple of books.
And how old are you, Rob?
I am 54 years old now.
You
Amazing.
look younger. You sound younger.
Yeah, I am blessed with good genetics. I'll tell you that. I can't say that it's, anything more than that. I do go to the gym. I try to keep myself fit. But guys, I have 4 children and 12 grandchildren and 1 more on the way.
God bless you.
Yeah, it's a full house. Yeah, I'd love to tell you about my book for a second, if that's cool.
Yeah.
Sure, go right ahead. That's why we brought it up.
So this book is called Driven to Succeed, Driven. And the reason it started was I was traveling a lot back in 2003. About 2002 is when I started working for this seminar company. I was traveling all over the country, and I was working for this real estate investor group. And so I'm hanging out with people who are real estate investors, millionaires, asset protection specialists. And that got me thinking, what makes these guys so darn successful? Now just let me take a quick turn here real quick, then we'll get back to the story. But in 2007, that company went under because the whole real estate bubble burst. And people weren't investing in real estate. So I ended up going back to school in 2008 to 2010 and got a degree in graphics and web development, coupled with some school that I'd been doing for a few years before that through these different careers. So that's what got me into the whole web development side of things and got me into and then I just found a love for marketing. Because once you get a website, people say, hey, this is a great looking site. I love it. Now what do I do? So that's when I really dove into the marketing and sales and used some of my other marketing classes to do that. So that's how, let's go full circle. That's how we got into marketing AI. But while I was working for this seminar company, I was going down the road and I was thinking, what is it that makes these guys successful? And I thought, well, I know they're very determined people. You know, you got to have good determination if you're going to be successful in business. And so I thought, wow, that's an interesting word. What does that mean exactly? And I looked it up. And determination is not what you think it is. A lot of people would kind of think determination is tenacity, stick to it, stick to itness. But when you look up the actual definition, it's the act of deciding. And that just kind of hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, these people have made a decision that they were going to be successful, and they went for it. And when I was, you think about some of the greats, Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar, they all say you have to act on something. You can't just be wishy-washy. You have to make a decision, you have to commit yourself to it, and you have to make that happen. So I thought, wow, that's really cool. I wonder what else they have that drives them. And then light bulb, drives, driven. I wonder if that could be an acronym. So I started looking at these other, letters in this whole thing. So that's what this driven formula is talking about, is the different tools. And I really wrote this for my kids, to be honest, because I was traveling. I was in the air 4 or 5 hours a week in airplanes with, not a lot to do. So I just started typing out, this is for me to pass down to my generations, how to be successful, how to be happy, how to progress, how to not be sad and depressed and anxious. And so I write a little bit in here about the progression principle and how important it is that we're always progressing. We're always moving forward and never stopping, and how important it is for entrepreneurs and anybody that you just never give up and you always keep going. So let me go back to, I'll just quickly go through these other ones because I know we don't have a lot of time left. R stands for responsibility. Taking the responsibility for your own success is so important. You cannot blame other people for where you are and what position you are in life. I remember this is just a story. I don't know if it's a true story, but it's a good point to illustrate. But there was someone who was very, very unsuccessful, kind of, homeless, living on the streets. And they asked him, why are you homeless? And he said, well, it's my parents' fault. They were homeless, and, they didn't really teach me very much. And so I didn't, really go anywhere. And then they asked this, another person who was, successful in business, how did you be so successful? He said, oh, well, that was my parents. They were homeless and they didn't have a lot of money. They didn't do anything. And I decided I don't want to be that anymore. And I took the responsibility to go out there and make myself not poor. So the responsibility is huge. I stands for invest. Investing your time wisely, investing your money wisely. If you're going to be successful, you have to invest your time and money wisely. There's nothing wrong with Netflix if you're watching it, a few hours a week. But if you're watching it most of your day, that's where your time's going, right? So invest in your time wisely. V for vision. If you ask any CEO of any company, what's your vision for this company 5 years from now, 10 years from now, they're going to be able to tell you because they have that vision. And if you don't know and you don't have a vision of your company or who you are, and I know you know this, then how are you going to get there? E stands for energy. You've got to put energy into what you do. You have to, if you have a vision and and you've made a decision, now it's time to act. Put energy into what you're doing. And the N, well, if you've determined a course of action, if you've taken the responsibility to see it through, if you're willing to invest the time and you have a vision of where it is that you want to end up in the future, and you're willing to put in the energy, when do you start? And that's what the N stands for. Now. Yep. So
do you do lectures? I mean, I could see you on the public stage, just especially with with high school, college
Mhm.
students,
Mhm.
small businesses, because one of the things, and it's interesting, Rob, you're talking about this, because one of the things that, like you said, people look at, oh, as I blame my parents, right? So
Yep.
there's a point where we do recapitulation. We start reflecting back and seeing. And one of the things that I came to conclude was my mother taught me discipline,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
But it was very myopic in the discipline because it was in survival mode. Make sure
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
she didn't
Yep.
have the capacity to grow that. That's my responsibility. You see?
Right. Right.
And you look at a lot of people today,
Yeah.
right? Their business, they have a dream, Rob. They have a dream. They go in and they open up a business. 80% of the businesses are closed within 3 years. Why is that?
Yeah.
Because they never expanded
Mhm.
this. So I think your book would be where's it available? How can people get in touch with that or buy that book?
So it is on Amazon. If you look for it, if you search for the D.R.I.E. like that, if you search that way and do Driven to Succeed, it'll come up. You can see it. Just so you know, it is. I am redesigning the cover because, in fact, I do want to speak on stages, and I'm trying to kind of get that going. So I'm going to get a speaker sheet, and I'm going to put. I was talking to a publishing coach and a speaker coach recently. He said we need to put your picture on here instead of this person, so you can then go out and market yourself. So I said, yeah, let's do that. So it's going to get a redesign. I've also got to go through and fix a few little spelling and grammatical errors in there. But hey, if you want to buy the original non-perfect version, it's on Amazon right now. The content is great, but there are a couple of Easter eggs in there for people who are very well spoken and educated when it comes to grammar and spelling.
Is it
Rob,
also in Kindle?
What's that?
Is it also in Kindle or audio?
Yeah, it is in not in audio yet, but you can get it on Kindle as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
we had a brief conversation about some project that we may entertain doing. We had this conversation off air. That book, and what I just came up with, is going to be very instrumental in
Mhm.
that program,
Mm.
and that'll just leave you pondering a
Mm.
little bit.
Pondering is good.
Yes. Yes. But I mean, when you're talking, you are like nobody can hold you down. And the mere fact that you recognize what you're able to do, um, and you just you go for it.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean, that
I'll tell you what. There are days as an entrepreneur you just go, this sucks, and even in
oh,
life sometimes when you say, man, this is it's so hard, and I just feel like and you just feel kind of down. And what I do when I recognize I have a trigger, right? When I recognize that I'm having a bad day and I'm not happy and I'm not feeling very good,
yeah.
that is for me. What I do is I will sit down at the desk, sit on my computer, whatever it is, and I will write new goals. And when you sit down and you write
Yes.
those new goals, it totally motivates you. And then I go right back to this driven formula. D, determine a course of action. If you're having a bad day and things aren't going your way, don't just sit there and worry about that. Decide what you're going to do. And it may
Mhm.
not be the right choice, but do something. And if you do, it makes you feel better because people naturally need to progress. And I'll tell you what, if you look at the back of this, when it talks about it, one of the things that I talk about in there is if you don't like standing in line, if you don't like being held back, if you don't like failing a test, then that's because we're naturally hardwired to progress.
Yes.
I don't like standing in line, and it's like I want to get to the counter, get the stuff done, and go.
I despise it.
Right? You don't. Who likes sitting in
I have
traffic?
no patience.
Right.
I have no patience for that.
Right? And that's because we're naturally hardwired to progress. And so when we're not progressing, we're not moving forward, we're not making more of ourselves than what we are, we start to get depressed and anxious, and we just, you
Angry.
don't know what's wrong. Yeah. But what it
Yeah.
is, it's you stop progressing. So I sit down, I write some new goals, I look at my driven formula of success, and I say, what's my D? What's my determinant? What am I going to do today that I'm going to determine this course of action that I'm going to change, and we're going to turn this around starting right now.
Well, I
What
want
would
you
you
to be
tell-
determined to tell everybody again how to get in touch with
Oh,
you.
Yep.
So go to my website, marketingai.com. You can also email me at rob@marketingai.com. And my phone number is 435-881-9891. And I'll just put it out there again. Hey, if you would like me to come speak to your group as well, I am so intrigued and so excited to be able to get in front of people who you think could benefit from some of the things that I've learned in my life. And of course, I'm an awesome marketer as well. So if you need help with that, definitely give us a call.
What would you say to people in the audience that never wrote a goal and wouldn't even know how to start?
Well, how
What
to do it.
suggestions? Yeah, what would be your suggestion?
So my suggestion there is think about what it is that you want first,
Okay.
right? What does the big picture look like? And I know you've probably done these kinds of exercises yourself, Linda. But if I can see myself 5 years from now, what am I doing? Right?
Mm.
I see myself up on the stage, presenting in front of 1,000 people, people cheering, laughing at my jokes, crying when I tell a sad story, right? I can picture this and I can see this, and I can see what I'm wearing, and I can, I can see the people coming up after and saying, "You inspired me today. Thank you so much." And I can see that. Okay, that's my vision. Now, how do I get there? Right? So then we kind of reverse engineer this. Well, if I'm getting it on stage, I need to find people who want to put me on stage. Well, how do I do that? Well, first, I guess I go to Google and I say, how do I learn to speak? How do I find stages? Well, that's a goal. Find people that want me to speak, or learn how to find. So you write that down. I'm going to learn how to, a goal can be learning how to do something. It doesn't have to mean you achieved it. It could just be something that you even want to do. But as you reverse engineer and you go backwards in time from where we are now to where you want to be 5 years from now, those become your goals. It's all in the book.
Have you haven't heard before of speakers bureaus?
Yes.
There are speakers bureaus. Going to one of them, going to a speakers bureau meeting, see what they do. That's the beginning of doing that.
Yeah. I'm also creating a speaker sheet. So when I go to some of these others, when I go to speaker bureaus and things, I can show them my little sheet of here's Rob and here's what he talks about and those kind of things, which, I've gotten that information by talking to some speakers. And again, for those who are listening, if there's something you're stuck in, get yourself a mentor. There are people out there who know how to become what it is that you want to become. And it's so important that you find someone to help you.
The young lady that's co-hosting tonight, Linda Grace Farley, is just that person.
Yep.
And if people, Linda, just you've asked some really good questions this evening. You've carried yourself, of course, really, really well. To give everybody your phone number again.
845-238-0637. And what I do is help people to navigate the ebbs and the flows of life to realize their true potential.
And that's why you and Rob now are going to become best buddies.
I can tell already.
Yeah, because
she will be on the phone with you tomorrow, if not
I will.
tonight.
He's reading my mind. Oh my God, Rob, he's reading my mind.
Perfect. Love it. Love it. Well, thank you so much for this opportunity and for letting me tell my story. It's just
no, I thank you. You're very unique. Lori told me all about you. She said that you will be interested in being on the show tonight. I hope that it was informing for you to get your word out, for people to know who you are, what you are, and how to reach you. In other words, creating awareness. That's a word that you didn't use tonight. which
Awareness.
now that I'm thinking about it, you've made people aware
Yes.
Yeah.
of who you are and what you are from the time that you took some karate courses and you finally wound up, hey, now you know who I am. I
Yep.
just threw you across the floor.
Yeah.
Right? And you changed a big part of your life by doing that, not just physically, but
Yeah.
mentally.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That was, in our marketing, we follow a GROW framework, and the G is gain more visibility. If people don't know about your business, they can't do business with you. So this has been a great opportunity to do that.
That's my
And the-
slogan. And I'll tell it, I've said it before on air and I'll say it again. There was a really terrific movie once upon a time called Field of Dreams.
Mhm.
And in Field of Dreams, he built this big, beautiful baseball field because he had this dream. And this ghost that came to him said he made him aware of what he could possibly do and what he could achieve. So he
Yeah.
builds this big, beautiful field, and he's expecting everybody to show up and watch the game. And if you remember the story, if you remember it, nobody showed.
Yep.
Had this beautiful field, nobody showed until his brother-in-law went into town and told everybody, "Are you nuts? We got baseball games going on up there." And they said, "What are you talking about?" And then miles and miles of traffic was created by that. So
Yeah.
my expression is, build it and they will come if you let them know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You gotta let them know. And anything, anywhere in any product you're selling, any service that you're selling, if they don't know who it is and what it is, they're not buying it.
Right.
Mhm.
And it sounds so simplistic, but and people laugh when I tell that little story. It's really true though.
Mhm.
It has to do with my business. It has to do with anybody's business. You gotta
Mhm.
let people know what it is that you're doing. It's not going to work by itself.
And that's what we focus on. And I'll tell you what, I love the startups. You asked me about my pricing. The truth is, I just say, what's your budget? And then we do the best we can within that budget to help you find customers and grow. And we try to grow with you. We have clients that pay us $500 a month. I've got clients that have paid $20,000 a month. Just depends on you. Tell me what you need, and I'll tell you how to get the best clients.
Well, I want to know that. I want to know that you're going to come back here. Because you got a lot more to tell us, and we haven't had an opportunity to do it. One of the big things that we do is we go over your website. We take your website basically apart because there's a lot of hidden things inside there that people aren't going to see now until they go on your website and visually check it all out. But thank you, Rob Ratcliffe. I thank you very much for being here tonight. You've been a great asset, for the show, and you be well now. So just stay tuned. Don't disappear.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay.
This has been the Business Awareness Hour with Norman, the Awareness Guy. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.